Xabi Alonso a little bit stressed, but he didn't need to stress too much because in the end, Real Madrid would hold on for their third win in 3 in La Liga. Luis Garcia was watching this game for us today. Let's get his thoughts on what he saw from Real Madrid. Another win for Xabi Alonso. He'd said before this game that they'd taken a step forward against Oviedo, and he wanted to see them take a step forward today. Luis, did they?
And we wanted to see a little bit more consistency that we haven't had, because during the game we saw ups and downs of this Real Madrid. They were dominated for Mallorca at some points. I think that Real Madrid had under control the game, but even though that we saw 3 goals disallowed for Real Madrid, one of them, for me, my opinion, and from the way that I see football, it should have stood the one from Arda Güler, the one who hit the hand. I think that one, there is no intention over there, but yeah, I understand the rules, so I have nothing more to say. But I think that we wanted to see a little bit more of this Real Madrid, more aggressive, more intense, a little bit more creative in the last third. We saw a good Arda Güler in the middle of the park. We saw a little bit of Mbappe, just sparks of that. Not much about Vini Jr., a few sparks when the Real Madrid needed a reaction in the first 45. But he played with fire, and he's not the first one. Don't forget the results in the last couple of games has been similar, very close.
And I will go as far as to say, and it's something that Stewie was saying in the commentary, he called it that the game had drifted away. At halftime, I said that Real Madrid had a lull in the first half. That lull became the whole of the second half. And it's so clear to see when Real Madrid are playing with a certain level of urgency and intensity and when they're not. Because when they are dominant. The first 10 minutes, they were dominant. It was all too easy for Real Madrid, but they were pressing higher the field. They were forcing turnovers. They were dictating the game. In the second half, they were all too happy. We just, we keep the ball here, we keep the ball there. If we get forward, maybe we'll create something. But there isn't that same commitment to go and win the ball over there, which is a trademark of what Xabi Alonso did with Bayer Leverkusen. A willingness to go and press the ball higher up the field, to win it in that half, to create and maintain pressure. That has to happen over the course of 90 minutes. Real Madrid only do it every so often. So in that regard, to your question, I answered they did the side shuffle.
Talking to you all as professional footballers, going back to Luis's point on the Güler goal that was chalked off, we obviously saw those 2 Mbappe goals that were. I know that you guys had your own thoughts on this moment as well.
I think this falls right in the grey area of the law as it's written. And full disclosure, I was part of the I5 panel when this. Stop laughing. When this first came up, and now the thinking was you didn't want a goal to be scored, even with an unintentional handball. But here, the ball does hit Arda Güler unintentionally, and now the discussion then becomes, as he's a goal scorer, is that the same phase of play? Is that a second phase of play? Because it comes off his arm, it doesn't go directly into the goal. The goalkeeper makes a save and he follows up. So, had that rebound, had it hit Arda Güler's arm, goalkeeper makes a save and it falls to Kylian Mbappe or Mastantuono and they score, the goal stands. As the law is written, it's quite clear the goal stands. Had it hit his arm and go straight into the goal, no question about it, the goal is ruled out. But because the goalkeeper makes a save, now it falls into a grey area that I think is down to the referee's interpretation. I don't have a complaint about whatever's given.
You know what's interesting, Shaq, and this whole handball situation? The players on the field don't know the rules, don't know the laws of the game as it pertains to this particular interpretation of the law of the game. Because every Real Madrid player, in particular and specifically Arda Güler, say, no, I have my arms over here. Well, if it is in a sequence of a goal and you end up being the goal scorer, it doesn't really matter that you have your arms over here. Now, I'm not for the law, and those people that were sitting in that room writing that law, this guy, what are you guys doing? But regardless, the point being, the players are not clear. They're not 100% clear. Even when they're making their argument to the referee, it's not a correct argument because their argument does not apply to this specific play.
Yes.
And beating players on 1v1 situation, and that fantastic goal shows his ability to create and to be a finisher. But after that, we saw a very, very great Vini Jr. We didn't see him once again aggressive going forward. We didn't see him getting the ball or that intensity trying to regain the ball. I think that's what Xabi Alonso is more looking for, to that line of 3 players up front who have the option to run, to battle, to regain the ball, or at least put pressure. We saw a lot of Mallorca players having the chance of turning around and looking to your goal, and that's when you have a problem. And I think Vini Jr. was lacking on that intensity. So in the end, I think it was overall a decent game for Vini Jr. because he scored a goal and he had a few options, but I don't think that is the best of Vini Jr. what we've seen so far.
Ali?
I can make that same argument that Luis is making about, say, for example, Rodrigo coming off the bench as well, because obviously he now seems to be in direct competition with Vini Jr. At least that's the way that the decision-making has been by Xabi Alonso. And so you have Vini, who had some high moments in scoring the goal, but a lot of low moments as well during the match. And so in comes Rodrigo. I'm coming off the bench. Let me make the same sort of impact that, say, for example, Vini had last week against Oviedo. And it's just a whole lot of not quite there. Now, I'm talking about Vini. I'm talking about Rodrigo. I can utilize that same description about many players on the field. Like, not quite there. The whole of the midfield for Real Madrid. Not quite there just yet. The one player that I think has been consistently dynamic in the 3 matches and consistently a threat has been Kylian Mbappe. But what he has to be careful with is that he doesn't fall to the level of what the other players have been so far. That he maintains his level, because what happens is when the team is lacking energy and intensity and urgency, he tends to come down to, let's knock the ball here. And this 5-yard pass is when he's most dangerous, when he's running behind, as he was over the course of the first 45 minutes. Real Madrid has done just enough to win these 3 matches. 9 points, you take it, you go into the international break. But they have to improve dramatically. They have to continue to take steps forward, not sideways. That's Xabi Alonso. That's him saying it, not me. This was not a step forward today.
Not today, but still it is 3 wins from 3 for Xabi Alonso, and so they go into the international break knowing that they have had full marks. Luis Garcia, thank you so much for being with us.
¿Qué te ha parecido la aportación de Vini como titular y qué te ha parecido Rodrigo como revulsivo?
Sí, ha tenido buena aportación. Creo que ha sido un mejor partido que el de Osasuna aquí en casa. Y ese gol ha sido importante, el ponernos por delante. Y luego la entrada de Rodrigo también. Yo creo que los 3 cambios nos han dado un aplomo, porque en ese momento estábamos perdiendo un poquito el control del partido, y tanto Dani, los 2 Danis como Rodrigo han entrado bien, y necesitamos eso, ¿no? Que la gente esté preparada para aportar. Pero bueno, contento con el partido de Vini. Además sigue marcando, que es muy importante, y luego Rodrigo también ha tenido buenos minutos.
Alex Kirkland back with us outside the Bernabeu, has been at the game today and in the press conference in the mix zone too. What can you tell us from after the game, Alex?
Yeah, Xabi Alonso, as you heard there, was pretty positive about the team. He said they've done a lot of things well. There are still things to improve, but I think at this stage, with the very, very brief pre-season they had, and Xabi made allusion to that as well in that press conference, to go into this international break with 3 wins out of 3 maximum points is pretty good. He said right now, in a way, he feels that the break comes at the wrong time. He'd like to stay with this group of players, stay with his team and keep working with them, because he feels like they're making real progress. I think there was lots of positives, lots of good news from this performance. Not just Vinicius Jr., as you heard there, scoring another goal, but also at the back there were some really encouraging signs from another one of the new signings, Alvaro Carreras, who I thought was superb. One incredible acrobatic goal line clearance from him. Trent Alexander-Arnold coming to the team and did pretty well as well. Mbappe not on the score sheet in the end, with his goal being disallowed, but Xabi Alonso said that doesn't bother him at all. He was really pleased with Mbappe's performance. So like I say, going into this international break now with 3 wins out of 3, and I think it's pretty much all good news for this Real Madrid team, which isn't all the way there so far, as Xabi Alonso admitted in that presser, but they're making progress game by game.
Lovely stuff. Thanks so much for being with us, Alex. We'll speak to you again very soon. We'll let you go and enjoy the night in Madrid, Saturday night. And so that from João Pedro deemed not enough. It would finish 2-0 for Chelsea in this game, taking all 3 points away from it. Here is what Marco Silva had to say after the game. As you could see, he was frustrated, very much so during it. He said, "How do you disallow a goal like that? It's unbelievable. We have meetings with the referees, and one of the main things is that VAR is not here to re-referee the game. I don't want to say more. I want to be on the bench the next game. Here's some of the reaction from some of our pundits on ESPN FC. Nader Manua saying, for me, I think that goal should always have stood. I think Chalobah's got away with murder. And I think the fact he stayed on the floor sold it to them to go and have a look. Mike Dean says it's such a poor call. VAR just needs to stay out of it. It's just a complete accident. Robbie Musto, game's gone. Don Hutchison, inserting himself in an emoji, says never a foul in a million years. Okay. Frank Leboeuf is here in human form to give his take on what he saw today on that moment. Frank, what's your take?
In our time, definitely is never a foul, that's for sure. But nowadays, and it's what I texted to Shaka this afternoon because we had some arguments about that, is the fact that every time a player steps on another player, it's a free kick. I've seen that 100 times since last season and the season before. And every time I wonder why, when you step on the player, it's necessarily a foul. But it is what it is. So why today it would be different? Of course, Chalobah can't get the ball. Of course, Muniz doesn't do it on purpose and just put his foot. He just put his foot accidentally to Chalobah's foot. But it's what it is nowadays. So they always whistle for that. So why do you want to do otherwise today? Because it's in the middle of the park? Because it's, I don't know, different? Or because Chelsea will pay referees to have hours like that?
Well, the only part of that point that Frank made I agree with is that back in our day that wasn't a foul. But that's where it comes to a screeching halt for me. Listen, I think again Muniz is in possession of the ball. There's nothing unnatural about his movement in landing on the ankle of Chalobah, who's coming in late, is trying to check his run, so Chalobah does not commit a foul himself, but Muniz is in possession of the ball, and in a natural movement catches Chalobah. I think that goes. And in much the same way that he goes, wins the ball, and in a natural action in coming down, falls on Chalobah, who is lying on the floor for some odd reason. This is a hypothetical, of course. That's not a foul. That's a part of the game. And I see this similarly. He's in possession of the ball, makes a natural, does a bit of skill, and it's a natural movement with the ball at his feet. And so from there, even though he catches Chalobah, yes, for me, it is not a foul. It is a natural part of the game.
Ali?
Well, the first thing I would say is that somebody, please, and this is a public service announcement. Actually, it's more, I'm pleading. Somebody remove Frank from our WhatsApp group, please. Please. This man was sending messages every minute of that match about everything. Endlessly. Having said that, I don't like it. I don't like the call, right? And I don't like that it's called a foul. But this is where the game is now. And it's no different because it is an attacking player. It's no different than an attacking player splitting two defenders, beating a defender, and actually you are accelerating away from the defender in a natural movement, which is, this is how you run. This is how you run. This is how you run. And when you do this, somehow you make minimal contact to the trailing defender that you just beat. You're leaving them behind. But because there is some contact, the defender somehow goes down because you touch him in the chest or the neck area. He goes down, and they call that a foul. I don't like that either. But this is where we are in the game today. And if there had been, to Frank's point, if there had been somebody stepping on the foot of Chalobah in the attacking half, inside the 18-yard box, or if he were stepping on somebody's foot in his defensive half, in his 18-yard box, they call it a foul, and they call it a penalty. And I know, I'm with you, Shaq. I'm with you. I'm not making the argument for this. Thank you. I'm not making the argument for this. I don't feel comfortable having this conversation because I don't think that it should be a foul. But this is where we are in the game today.
I get your example, but to that point, let's use the penalty boxes as another example, with another hypothetical. Let's say a defender, there's a loose ball, and a defender goes, clears that loose ball, and then lands on the ankle of a striker. That for me cannot and should not be a penalty. And in that situation, even today, as lax as some of these laws may be applied or how they're enforced, that I don't think that's given as a penalty. If you get there first, clear the ball, and in the act of clearing the ball, land on someone who's on the floor. I think the key here is Chalobah it's on the floor. It's not studs to the thigh. It's not, to Ali's example, even a loose arm in the face here, which I'm with you. I disagree. I don't like that either if this is a natural act of running. But this is on the floor. And that, for me, if that is what we're calling, then let's just go ahead and say this is a non-contact sport and no contact is allowed, and we move on. At least then there'll be some consistency.
But I think what we can all agree on is if the call was originally not given on the field as a foul, that should not be enough to overturn. I think if the referee did not deem that to be a foul, I don't think there is enough there for him to then go over and overturn the call. However, we are playing by a different set of rules, and more importantly, a different standard. It's a different standard as to what's a foul and what's not. And in today's standard, more times than not, that's going to be given a foul, whether we like it or not. I don't like it, but it's going to be given as a foul.
The other thing that kind of angered me in all of this is the explanation for it. It was deemed, what, careless?
Yes.
What does that mean? What on earth does that mean?
You're the closest person who can answer this to us. Yeah.
No, they kicked me out a long time ago.
You're responsible to see where your foot lands, Shaq.
What is careless?
You're being careless.
Listen, I couldn't disagree more. Studs are down. It's not like studs are up. It's
it's all rough. Okay, so those are the decisions. How about the performance overall of Chelsea? What did you make of it, Frank?
That was a poor one. I mean, I wasn't lucky today because I had to watch Tottenham, and then after I had to watch Newcastle. And if I have to congratulate Fulham, Bournemouth, and Leeds for what they achieved, because they gave 100%. The three others, their opponents, were kind of horrendous. And it's starting from Chelsea, especially the first half. I mean, I didn't recognize the team who won the Club World Cup, who started the season. Even if the first day, the first half, I think it was against Crystal Palace, if I'm not mistaken, was poor. That was something that I didn't see, and I saw some hope about everything. Today, that wasn't good. That wasn't good at all. So, of course, we are talking even more about, the controversy about the goals, because it could have been a draw. It could have been a loss, even if the referee wouldn't have decided otherwise. But yeah, that wasn't good. I wasn't happy. It's sad to see Delap being injured, and maybe we're going to talk about Nicolas Jackson and his flights going back, maybe. But really. I wasn't happy with the performance of the Blues.
We will talk about that in a minute. But what did you make of the penalty decision in this game, Frank?
Well, that's insane for me. He doesn't need to go back and check what happened really before, because that wasn't the wondering. I don't get it. There was a push, there was a handball, therefore, why do you want to give a penalty? And after, somebody said that it was João Pedro handball wasn't a deliberate handball. Was Cezinho handball a deliberate handball? He's showing his back, he's doing like that, and people are saying that that's deliberate. Yeah, he does it.
They're saying he's making his arms bigger, Frank. They're saying he's making his arms bigger. But
João Pedro too. He put his arm like that. His arm should be there. He put his arm like that. So it's the same story. So I don't get it. I mean, I'm happy the Blues won, but I don't want to win like that. And it's going to happen to Chelsea one day where they're going to complain about the same thing. So referees, VAR, the board, they have to wake up, because it's obvious. We see it. We see the push. We see the handball before. So why do you give a penalty? You want controversy. It's good for us. We have a debate, and we make a nice show.
I don't know if he is happy that Chelsea won.
I'm curious as to who are these people that Frank is talking to. Random people on the street. Look, if the discussion is only about whether it's a handball on Sessegnon or not, then there is no question that is a handball. It's clear as clear it can be, and he is making himself bigger, and there is no argument there. But I also think that there is no argument in assessing the fact that there is a push by Joao Pedro that impedes the defender from challenging the ball, which is what he's trying to do. That should be a foul. And that's when I'm with Frank. All the other people that he's talked to, I don't know. I have no idea. All I would suggest is that is there a push from Joao Pedro? I think the answer clearly for me is yes.
Yes, okay. So as Frank did mention, there's been drama elsewhere when it comes to Chelsea today because of Nico Jackson. His proposed loan move from Chelsea to Bayern cancelled at the last minute. Now, he'd already flown to Munich, was on his way to his medical, and was then informed that Chelsea were pulling out. The reason, because you obviously saw Liam Delap coming off early in that game injured. He had to be subbed off against Fulham. So he's expected to return. He's not happy about it, but he had been there in Munich to get that deal done. And so our boys were in the Augsburg Bayern Munich game today, Archie in Tutt and Thomas Hitzelsberger, and they got a chance to ask Vincent Kompany about this, and this is what he had to say.
I know you will have been focused on the game, but you might have heard about what's happened with this Nicolas Jackson deal for Bayern. How frustrating is that for you?
No, total plausible deniability. I have made every effort possible not to inform myself so that I can be here and plead the fifth. So I'll go on the bus, and when I'm on the bus, I'll have plenty of time to get the updates. Unfortunately, I won't be able to speak to you guys anymore.
Oh. Okay, so he's not saying too much.
Wait. Can a guy from Belgium plead the fifth?
What's the fifth in Belgium?
He knew our audience. He's actually entertaining and accommodating all of us. Max Erbels actually said, the Bayern director, he said it's all on hold at the moment. But as you mentioned and alluded to earlier, Frank, this is a weird and wild situation.
Now, that's for me, I'm sorry, but I want to be clear. That's disrespectful towards Nicolas Jackson. I mean, the guy is not an object. He's a human being. You say you don't want him anymore. You can go play and even on loan for another club because you're not good enough for Chelsea, and suddenly you have an injury. Oh, you know what? No, just come back. Oh, yeah, but I'm already in Munich. No, we don't care. Just come back. Come on. Just pay some respect to the player. You picked him. You chose him. He wasn't good enough. That's obvious, and we all agree with that. He has to go, but respect that decision that you made, because you made that decision to get rid of him and to allow him to play for another club. And don't call him back after because suddenly we miss you. We didn't think about that, but we miss you because we have an injury. Now, that's not fair. That's not fair. That's, for me, absolutely disrespectful.
That injury is expected to be 6 to 8 weeks for Liam Delap. And then, hang on a minute, have you landed yet? Yeah. Turn around.
Call the customs agent.
Turn around.
Don't let him in.
What do you think of it all, Shaq?
Well, my first takeaway is I want Nicolas Jackson's agent. How we end up in a situation where 48 hours to go in the transfer window, Chelsea and Bayern Munich are fighting over Nicolas Jackson. I want his agent. Secondly, and the cold side to this is business. Chelsea are still his owning club. They still have the right to call him back, and they exercise that right. But to Frank's point and to how Frank phrased it, we are talking about humans here. And while, yes, in the cold act of business, Chelsea are well within their rights, as Frank articulated, you tell Nicolas Jackson you don't want him anymore, you're not in our plans, you can go elsewhere. Somehow he gets himself to Bayern Munich. Again, that's a different conversation altogether. And just as you're thinking you're getting this new lease on life, you are called back to a parent club who just got through telling you, we don't want you anymore. So now you have a player who's upset, who really isn't, has no kind of sympathy, has felt no kind of love from the football club, doesn't feel appreciated, and what does that translate to in terms of performances? Now, Nicolas Jackson is a professional, and I'm sure he'll put out professional performances when called on, but you could totally understand how deflated he feels at this point. And while I started in defending Chelsea, was saying, it's just the cold business that it is. At no point At no point you thought, between now and, let's say this deal was done, you thought that you had more than enough cover to last you until January. Had this injury happened a week later, your position was, we had enough cover to last us until January. One player goes down, and that totally changes. So while I defend Chelsea and this is business, this is not smart business on your part. However you look at this is not smart business on Chelsea's part. And now as a result, you're going to find yourself with a player who probably does not want to be there. And we see exactly how much game time this all translates to for him anyway.
And then wonders, Shaka, at the end of that timeout from Delap, okay, so then what's going to happen to me now when he comes back?
Well, he knows what's going to happen to him. He's not playing. There's a reason as to why the door was completely wide open. Nico, go on. Go on. Yeah, just, you know what? Go. We'll pack for you. Just go to Munich. We'll send you your boxes. We'll be all right. And so to that end, obviously, if you're Chelsea, you're thinking, well, he's still our player. But he's not. On paper, he is. But he's not. That Nicolas Jackson's soul has already left Chelsea. His commitment to your club has already gone, was already on that flight. And to the point of the agent, I think the situation is going to get all the more complicated because of the agent's involvement. If this were a personal conversation between player, manager, at a human level, I think there is a better chance of this being resolved than an agent who came out and said, the plane ain't coming back. The plane is not turning around.
The plane can't go backwards, I think it was.
Whatever it was. And so it already creates, it's an uncomfortable situation and conversation to be had regardless. But I think the agent is already sort of adding fuel to the fire and making this far more controversial than it needs to be. This is when humans have to have a human conversation. You didn't want me. You don't want me. You don't need me. You said you didn't need me. Now you want me back just because? It's to the point to where if you're not going to use me and you know you're not going to use me, just let me be and go do my thing over there and see what happens with the rest of my career. But if it is about the contract and what's on paper, what's written paper, then Chelsea have every right to say, 9, you're coming back this way.
Manchester United breathing a huge sigh of relief, and of course Ruben Amorim as well after that 3-2 win over Burnley. Here he is speaking after the game.
The important thing is that we were, if you take Wednesday, we were more consistent in the performance compared to last year. That is a good thing. But I'm not thinking about turning point. I had this conversation with you guys like 10 times. So I'm not, it's day by day. I'm happy we return, sometimes playing well or not so well. We return a little bit the team that we should be. Competitive, creating chances, we need to score. Sometimes we block the opponent in their half, we press really high. So we have a lot to do, but we return a little bit to our level today.
Okay, so there we go. Manchester United getting the win that they need. Frank's still with us, but let me go to you, Shaq. What does this mean for Amorim now?
Well, job done, first of all. But let me see. I'll also start exactly as I'll finish. It was Burnley. It was Burnley. Manchester United's only task was to beat Burnley today. It didn't matter what else happened. As long as Manchester United won, that was job done. And there are a lot of positives you can take from it. We're not talking about the goalkeepers, probably the first time this season. And Bournemouth gets his first goal for Manchester United. Very well taken goal. Bruno Fernandes has bounced back from was it midweek or last week disappointments. And people leave Old Trafford with a real feeling of buoyancy to the point where there are discussions as to whether to turn the corner.
Huh?
Which brings me back to my opening point. It was Burnley. So you take the positives just because there have been so few this season. And you could argue that 3 days ago it was as low as we've seen and spoken about Manchester United. So you get the 3 points, you get a win, people are feeling good. All of a sudden, the 2 weeks now, given the international break, feels a whole lot different than had it been 2-2. But again, it was Burnley.
But a win is a win, Frank, and we could see with Bruno Fernandes' celebration that was a huge relief for him and the team.
Yeah, that was a huge relief, and he was right to appreciate the moment. But I think the job is done because somebody from Burnley decided to make the most stupid mistake at the 97 minutes of the game. Otherwise, it would have been a draw, and it would have been a drama a minute after in the dressing room. I appreciate that you got the 3 points, but you're far from being out of the issues, the problems, what have been maybe the misery of your game, because that's still not that good. And as Shaka said, it was against Burnley.
Yeah, so to the point that Shaka and Frank are making, that it was Burnley, what I would say to both of them is that a few days ago, it was Grimsby. It was Grimsby.
Yeah.
So any game and every game right now is difficult for Manchester United. And one of the initial points you made there, Shaka, is that they just needed to win.
Yeah.
And so, look, if you're Manchester United, you really don't care who you're playing against as long as somehow you manage to scrape a win. And they needed to do that today. And what I would say about Manchester United today, different than other days, is that at the very least you saw a team that was pressing the ball, that was playing with energy, that was playing with intensity. It doesn't mean that it was a good team. It doesn't mean that it was a good performance. It doesn't mean that they've turned the corner. But you would have thought that with the lack of confidence that this group has, then maybe they would be hesitant in the way that they played. And that wasn't the case today. You can say a lot of things about Manchester United, but today, at the very least, they were competing. And they were together in trying to compete and in trying to win the game. And the other thing I would say is, I want to applaud the Manchester United fans at Old Trafford. You've all have been subjected to some nonsense over the last few years. And I mean, it's been terrible. And somehow you continue to believe that this team is going to give you joy and happiness. Because over 90 minutes plus, this stadium jumping. I mean, all over Burnley and all over these players to try to somehow squeeze a win out of this. So I think that the fans themselves understand how difficult it is for this team to win one game. One game. And that, if I'm Ruben Amorim, all I'm thinking, and it's something that he addressed there in the press conference, I'm thinking about doing one thing. It's just winning today. We cannot project what this team is going to be because winning one game is so stressful for this club right now.
Also, let me just add, and while I focus on a lot of the positives for Manchester United coming out today, and I'm sure Ruben Amorim and this Manchester United dressing room will do exactly the same for the next 2 weeks. When they come back off of international break, I think you see some of the same issues in the game today that we discussed in the game against Fulham, the last league game against Fulham. In that, from the time Manchester United take a lead, they do not at all look comfortable. They did not against Fulham when they went 1-0 up. They did not today against Burnley. To their credit, they held out for 20 or 30 minutes. Then all of a sudden, Burnley gets an equalizer. But again, to Manchester United's credit, they go straight up the end virtually and get themselves back in front. 2 minutes later, Burnley had the ball in the back of the net, albeit disallowed. 7 minutes after that, Burnley equalized. And then it's at the last kick that Manchester United get the winner. Manchester United, in their last 2 games against Fulham and Burnley, when taking the lead, have looked like they have no idea what to do with that lead. And had Bruno Fernandes scored that penalty in the 85th, I'm not sure they'd hold out. Because they just lack such confidence in themselves. The other thing I want to say, right? And I have a little bit. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying that you started positive, but then it became negative.
Yeah, but no, well,
became negative.
We have to think of the positive, but then you have to address the negative,
okay.
right? I've got a little bone to pick here. Cunha goes down injured. Xerxes comes on. What happened to Sesko?
What?
Why you turn down Newcastle to do that?
What?
Wow.
That's it?
Yeah.
That was your bone to pick?
My bone to pick with Sesko.
Hey, there's a lot more wrong with Newcastle than that.
Let me tell you something.
These guys will be answering your questions on the latest edition of Extra Time. You can check it out over on our YouTube channel. Simeone has gone without a win in 3 games in the opening stages of the season. They've only faced Espanyol, Elche, and today Alaves. Luis Garcia is back with us. What is happening, Luis?
Yeah, we would like to know because Simeone is trying to find the way of this Atletico Madrid to play a little bit better. We saw an improvement in the last 20 minutes, but not enough to get a good result. And the players start feeling it. They start feeling that it's not working. They start getting frustrated, and they come into the game with that kind of mentality, not knowing what they're going to find into the game. They cannot keep the possession. They feel sometimes vulnerable at the back. We've seen that they concede quite easily. And in the end, it's about trying to continue sending the message. And it's Simeone going into the press conference saying, we are going to get it there, we are going to do it well, but he's getting far away from the top 2. And if today Real Madrid wins, it's going to be even farther. So, tough moment for Atletico Madrid. They cannot find a way to the good results.
A 3-2 win for them and another 3 points as well, but definitely not as easy as their game, the opening game against Leipzig, which was 6-0 for them. Let's hear what Vincent Kompany had to say to Archie and Thomas about it afterwards.
I want to know from your perspective, to get the end product of fluidity, and we saw it again here tonight, what are the ingredients?
No, we can set up as many sessions as we want for them to finish from one-on-one with the goalkeepers and little tap-ins and stuff. One of the goals we scored is something we worked on yesterday. But the other stuff, guys, you have to trust your players. You have to give them total belief that if they get in the positions, they're going to get the chances. Luis Diaz missed an unbelievable chance in the first minute, I think, of the game. But he did score afterwards. So I think support your players, back them. Remind them of the things they've done well as well to get in the positions, and then making sure the things we have to improve, that we're making this a priority when we come back.
Hoffenheim did get a consolation goal in stoppage time, but Frankfurt got the 3-1 win there and all 3 points. Leipzig, after that embarrassment last weekend, get a 2-0 win over Heidenheim. You just saw that game between Werder Bremen and Bayer Leverkusen. Stuttgart with a 1-0 win over Gladbach, and Bayern Munich holding on for all 3 points against Augsburg. Archie and Thomas, while we're at that game today, here's what they said afterwards.
4 games so far this season for Bayern Munich, Thomas Hitzelsberger. 4 wins, differing levels of conviction, I would say, after each of them. Now, after winning 3-2 against Wien Wiesbaden during the week, they've won 3-2 here again. But this time, having been 3-0 up, Augsburg came back to 3-2. Enough there to be worried about for Bayern? Or still, look, we won?
I think they can be pleased with the fact that they've won here, because Augsburg made life difficult for them. What is something they need to look into, and I'm sure they've seen that it's obvious, is their finishing. They've created so many chances, but in front of goal they weren't clinical enough, and you would expect players that quality, they just finish it off. They could have made their life a lot easier, but because they didn't score enough goals, it became quite close towards the end.
The real crisis, I think, at Bayern Munich right now is Harry Kane didn't score today. What's going on? In all seriousness, I think actually it tells you that the finishing wasn't on point today, because I don't remember any one of those chances falling to Harry Kane in the end. So, more for the rest of his team to be able to keep up with the level?
Well, the thing is with Augsburg, they obviously analysed Bayern Munich. They know the main threat is Harry Kane, so they kept him out of the game. Although he set the first goal up, and he still had a good game. But of course, he wasn't in a position to score himself, which is fine. Over the course of the season, he will get enough goals. Don't worry about it. But tonight, he was part of the team, important part of the team, but obviously not a hat-trick scorer again.
We don't talk enough about Serge Gnabry's status at Bayern Munich, and given that he is closing in on 100 goals in all competitions for the club, let's give him some praise. What have you made of his start to the season, but also his contract is up at the end of this coming season. Worth keeping him around?
Well, I like him, honestly, not just as a player, but as a personality. He's been with the club long enough. He understands the club, and right now you see when everybody's asking for new players, he could have easily last season felt, I'm not wanted here, I want to get a move on, but he's fighting for his place, and he leads by example by putting a shift in, making great runs, and really pushing this team as well. So I hope for him personally that he can stay on beyond this season.
So all Bayern Munich really need now is maybe another signing or two until Monday. Not sure if Nicolas Jackson is going to be coming through the door. How important is it that there is a body through that door?
Well, it's always strange because they don't need an extra body just for the sake of it. The team's good enough to with a good start in the Bundesliga. But I think most people are concerned about the Champions League. Has the squad the depth for winning the Champions League? Probably not yet, and that's why there's so much talk and probably too much negativity around the club, around the team that is actually performing well.
Moving to other results in the Bundesliga today, the most striking one happened at the Weserstadion, where Werder Bremen were 3-1 down to Bayer Leverkusen, managed, of course, and coached by Erik ten Hag. And then Werder Bremen, despite being a man down as well, came back and levelled it in the final minute, 3-3. This is not a great start to the season for Leverkusen, even if they have lost a load of key players.
Well, I agree with you, but you've got to see where they're coming from. They've been spoiled for 2 years under Xabi Alonso with some exceptional players like Florian Wirtz, Jeremy Frimpong, Jonathan Tah. They're all gone now. And the club is in this transition period where they haven't managed to invest the money they got in a way that Erik ten Hag is happy. So there seems to be a misunderstanding, a mismatch right now, so they need to sort it out quickly. Otherwise, this drama will continue in Leverkusen.
It doesn't look like a match made in heaven so far, unlike what continues to happen down the road, an hour by train if you're lucky, at Frankfurt. They won 3-1 away at Hoffenheim today, meaning that they, like Bayern, are on maximum points so far this season in the Bundesliga. Why are they so impressive, Thomas?
Well, it's the consistency. You got the key personnel, Markus Krösche, the sporting director. He's been excellent for years now in bringing in talented players. Dino Topmöller, he puts the final touch on them, and they're still a one with profit. And yet they're not lacking any sense of competitiveness. They still get better and better. I'm extremely impressed the way the club is run, the ambition. They maintain that position, and they don't look for excuses. Most other clubs would say, we've sold our best players, next season we have to lower our expectation. Eintracht Frankfurt, they keep pushing and have that optimism about them that you can see week in, week out. To me right now, behind Bayern, they are the best team.
Bayern Munich's next games, Hamburg, Hoffenheim and Werder Bremen in the Bundesliga. But after that, it's Eintracht Frankfurt. And the way things are looking, Thomas Hitzelsberger, thank you very much.
Thank you.
It looks like Eintracht Frankfurt could be the first team that, well, are they going to be the ones who challenge Bayern for the title? At least on one game in 90 minutes, they look the best team to rival them so far.
Yes, we will find out as the season plays out. You can see more of it tomorrow. Wolfsburg taking on Mainz and Borussia Dortmund against Union Berlin back-to-back on Sunday on ESPN+. So look at the shots on goal here. Just one on target for Spurs, and I think that came in about the 68th minute. As for Bournemouth,
But it's at home, right?
had a lot more effort.
Look at those stats. I can't remember.
Yes, Thomas Frank suffering his first Premier League defeat as Spurs head coach, and Frank did subject himself to this game. Frank, are you okay?
I needed some pills, because I went into depression after the Chelsea game and then Spurs, and then we're going to talk about Newcastle. I'm coming to you, Shaka. So I took some notes. So Tottenham,
preparation.
Tottenham, nothing. Oh, they started to play after 1 hour, so it's not too bad. When Bergwald came on. But really, congratulations to Bournemouth because they deserve to win and they could have even scored more goals. And I'm very fan of Ivan Nilsson and Semenyo as well. I really like those two players. But coming from Spurs, what happened? I think Thomas Frank will have to explain to her that maybe it was an accident. Hopefully it's an accident because I saw almost nothing except when Bergwall in the middle of the park came on and put some pace into the game, so the game changed a little bit. But overall, that was poor. And we went back to the Spurs that we know from last season. Really poor.
Yes, lacking some much needed creativity. Xavi Simons on his day can hopefully provide that for Thomas Frank and his boys.
Positivity. Positivity. We need positivity now.
0-0 between Leeds and Newcastle. Shaq, over to you.
I can borrow Frank's notes for this one because nothing happened in this one at all. Thank you, Frank. That's a good match summary right there. Listen, I think I'm not 100% sure what I was expecting out of Newcastle in this one. Kind of given what you saw from them against Liverpool, albeit in a highly charged game, but with 10 men, you could make the argument that Newcastle were better than Liverpool, even in that losing effort. But this was exactly what you saw from Newcastle in their first game against 10-man Villa. I'll be honest, they never really looked like they were going to concede, but similarly, they never really looked like they were going to score. And it speaks to the absence of Isaac, the need for Voltemade, Osula, who I made the argument is a good backup, a good second striker, a good option to have coming off the bench, shows that he's not ready to start just yet. And there is a gaping void there as a result. So for all Frank's complaints about Spurs Bournemouth, I think I've got him beat with this one.
Yes, Nick Voltemade was in the stands at Ellen Road today.
You know what? Professional behavior today from you, Shaq. You managed to put together 2 minutes of analysis out of that game.
Yeah, yep.
That's good work by you, Shaq. Good work.
I'm exhausted now. The hardest 2 minutes of my life.
It's too much for you.
Drama was elsewhere. Anything to add for this game, Frank?
No, turn the page and let's see what's going on tomorrow because really.
Welcome into the latest edition of Extra Time. It's been a day.
That is that.
We've watched some very dramatic games and we've watched some games where not very much happens.
Yeah, less dramatic.
Yes, rather less dramatic. Okay, Ale. Hello, Frank. Ale, a few years ago, you were lamenting the rise of the false nine. Today, these false nines seem to be disappearing. Is football healing?
If that means that there's an actual 9 playing, then yes, football is healing. But in order to have that consistently, you have to have players that recognize the importance of playing with your back to goal. So many of these nines or false nines, what they love to do is dribble at defenders, which anybody loves to do that. But sometimes the team needs something different from you. They need the in-to-out runs. They need the hold-up play so that you can release some pressure. Playing the number 9 position is not just about scoring goals. Now, this is coming from somebody who played the position and didn't score many goals, and so therefore I am biased towards the other things that go with playing the position. There is something important about playing the number 9 position that is besides the goals. Goals is where you're expected to provide for the team. But there are other things that make you an even more complete player. And if you provide that, then you become an all-timer.
Okay.
So you are a non-scoring striker.
That is correct.
No, just
self-described.
Right. Okay. I just want to make a shot.
Hence, I don't know if you want to put 2 and 2 together, but hence why perhaps I did not reach the heights. I had some limitations, Shaq. Hey, I'll be very honest.
Exactly?
I'll be very honest. I had some limitations to my game. My skill set did not match my body type, so I made the most out of it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know what skill set matches that body type.
Exactly. And yet, I made it work, Shaq. I made it work.
Unique, I would have called it.
Yes.
All right.
Deceptively unique.
There you go. Frank, Delap injured. Jackson returns to Chelsea. Chelsea were shipping him off as excess and now want him back. Ever seen such a thing? How would you react if you were Jackson?
I would get crazy. I would call the board and say, are you kidding me or what? You don't want me, and now you want me to play for you because you have a player injured? I don't know, there are some words we can't say on TV, but I have the right words for you, you know? And because really, you are not respecting me whatsoever. Again, during the show, we talked about the fact that Nicolas Jackson is a human being. He's not an object. He's not something you put in the cupboard and when you need it, you put it back. you put it back out. No, it doesn't work that way. You don't want him, you think he's not good enough for your team, you get rid of him, even if it's on loan, it's because you don't think it's good enough to play for you. And so therefore, don't ask him when you have an injury. Go with the squad that you have, and I have to say, Chelsea have enough players to cope with the situation. So leave Nicolas Jackson alone, please.
All right, during your early playing careers, did a coach ever tell you you have to compete with the team's captain/best player for your minutes? What would you do if you were in Kobbie Mainoo's situation?
I think Kobbie Mainoo is going to hide into nothing here. He asked you to leave the club to get playing time. Club say, no, we need you. Amorim says, you're part of my plans. And I'll be honest, I'm not sure what his role is here. And to that point, I think he's a very different player from Bruno Fernandes. But the trouble with Kobbie Mainoo is he's not overly quick. So you need to put somebody with legs next to him to play that position. But the options are Casemiro, who doesn't have any legs, or you drop Bruno Fernandes in a whole lot deeper. He wants to get forward. So, well, the options are Casemiro and Ugarte, but don't get me started on that again.
All right, okay.
So I'm just not sure that you have a pairing to get the best out of Kobbie Mainoo unless you drop Bruno Fernandes, and he's the only creative player in that squad. So I think there's an imbalance about it that does not serve Kobbie Mainoo well at all.
The troubling part for Kobbie Mainoo is that when Manchester, and when I say when Manchester United was going through all their struggles, as they've been going through all their struggles, he seemed to be one of the highlights.
Yeah.
One of the only highlights. He seemed to be one of the things that you could point at and say, we can build around this player. And now the one piece, or one of the few pieces that you could build around, is sitting on the bench, not knowing what his role is. Never mind that you don't know what his role is. He doesn't know what his role is. And that, I think, it has to be concerning for him. And he also has to be asking himself the question, how long is this going to last? Is this just a matter of changing the manager and then my role changes? Or is this something that is long term? And that's where you find yourself as a young player thinking, maybe it's best for me to go elsewhere.
Ale, here's one for you, another spot.
All right.
JJ has caught a lot of heat trading away Parsons.
Okay.
But even with him, they were not going to succeed. Should United approach Bruno in the same way? Get pieces/funds to build by selling your most valuable assets.
I understand the parallel here. JJ's Jerry Jones.
Oh, I was wondering, I had no idea what was going on for a minute there.
The owner,
Cowboys.
and GM of the Dallas Cowboys,
okay.
who traded Micah Parsons to the Green Bay Packers. Micah Parsons, not only the best player in the Cowboys, a defensive player, but one of the best players in all of the NFL.
Okay, now I understand.
The trade was for first-round picks in 2026, 2027, and some other guy, right? So apparently that guy is going to help us this season. How do you sell a fan base? And I don't want to make this an NFL show, but how do you sell a fan base on the potential of what that pick may be in 2026 and 2027, and your best player is walking out the door? You see, there he goes. Micah, where you going, Micah? So as a fan, it's hard for me to understand. As the Cowboys, we had our issues with Micah Parsons. But he wasn't the issue. There are other things to address. Now that guy walks out the door. How is the team better today than what they were before the trade happened? If you turn this into a Manchester United conversation, unlike the Dallas Cowboys, Manchester United have been awful for a long time. The Cowboys have been on the cusp. Their problem has been that once they get into the playoffs, they're unable to deliver on the big moment. You're not missing 5-6 pieces to do that. It's little things here and there that make the difference between you winning that playoff game or not. And now you're blowing it up and essentially banking on the future. If I were Manchester United, I would have blown it up a long time ago. And I've said it. You don't build around a guy like Bruno Fernandes. I think you could have built around a guy like Micah Parsons. That's where I think there's a difference.
Look at that, Ali Moreno.
Thank you. I'll be here all night.
I'm going to watch
Cowboys
NFL
fan.
now.
What? Yeah. Did I bring you in?
important.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there
I'm
you
on
go.
you. I'm in. I'm in.
Okay.
I'm
Don't
not sure.
start,
I'm
don't
not sure.
start leaving us for like
Are you-
first take and whatnot.
Are you gonna root for the Cowboys?
No,
though?
no.
Who are you gonna root for, Shaq?
I'm rooting for the Commanders.
Okay.
Yeah.
And why is that? What's your connection to the Commanders?
Well, that's where I went to school. So when I first came to the US,
Right.
went to Howard University, Washington, D.C. So the Commanders are my team.
Did you know who Micah Parsons was?
No, not
All right.
Not then.
Okay. So, or now.
Oh, no.
All right, who should start for Real Madrid? Trent Alexander-Arnold or Dani Carvajal? Frank?
Ooh. I'm very fan of Carvajal. I mean, he belongs from our generation, I would say. He's the type of player that I would have loved to play with. And it's completely different type of players comparing to TAA. But we saw today, you know, on Mbappe's disallowed goal, that Trent Alexander-Arnold is capable of giving assists that Carvajal cannot give. So it's hard, but so far I would go a little bit more with Carvajal because he's a real leader, he knows the house, and at the time that he was at the top, they won the Champions League and they were one of the best teams in the world.
You agree?
For the time being, as long as he's healthy, I'm riding with Dani Carvajal because of what I want from my right back. That's a personal preference in terms of what I think my right back should be. Dani Carvajal would be my preference.
I'd say horses for courses. Against better opposition when defending is an absolute must, Carvajal. Against lesser teams where you could use Trent's passing style,
Oh,
go for
boy.
Trent
Oh,
Alexander.
boy. So basically, they're both playing.
That's not an answer.
I said
That's a
horses for
political
I'm
answer.
set the defense here.
Again.
I already
Again.
told you I'm
Again.
comfortable in defense.
Yeah, very comfortable.
Very comfortable in my fence.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So by
Are you
far.
sure it's not your house?
Got a
defense?
nice fence. I'm sitting on my fence.
You do that, Sheka. All
Thank you very much.
Love the last question. For the panel, when you proposed to your wives, did you do an elaborate proposal like Travis Kelce did for Taylor Swift? Or was it a simple affair?
Simple affair. Easy for me. Took my wife to dinner. Got nervous all over again.
Yeah, I know.
30 buddy. Yeah. I thought I was used to this by now.
You know, it was successful. It worked.
Yeah, I think she said yes, you know.
Yeah.
I think so. Took my wife to dinner, proposed after dinner. Simple as that.
Did you
Just
get down
two
on
of
one
us.
knee?
No, I did not.
That's a long way to
She's
go
not-
down.
I wasn't. So I wasn't sure they got back up. So I thought let me just do it this way.
Nice, nice.
She complains about that actually. So it didn't very well.
Right. So, my wife, obviously, this is weird, and I'm gonna try to be as brief as possible. We knew we were getting married, but I hadn't officially proposed because I was with the LA Galaxy at the time and she was still in college. So it was in the All-Star break, I came back to Charlotte. We were already preparing the wedding without me having actually proposed.
all right.
That was our reality, and that's how we made it work. But I still wanted to go through the process of proposing. She was taking a little long to get ready to go where we needed to go in order for the proposal.
Probably about normal time, to be
No, but
honest.
she was taking a little long.
And given what I know of you, Ali, I'm not sure I like where this is going.
No, well, here's the thing. It was in a dinner cruise. It was,
Right.
all right, and so it was going to be in the middle of a Lake Norman in just outside of Charlotte, North Carolina, where I was going to propose, right? Beautiful moonlight. Oh, it was going to be gorgeous. She's taking a little too long. She's taking a little too long. She's taking a little too long. I'm like, we gotta go. Why are you in such a hurry? We gotta go, babe. We gotta go. Why, babe? It's okay. Well, it's fine. We'll make it there when we make it there. And I'm like, listen, woman. If you want me to propose to you, we need to make the boat. Otherwise, the boat is gonna leave us.
See, I knew it. I don't feel so bad at all anymore.
You shouldn't.
Whenever my wife complains that I didn't get down on one knee, I'm going to show her this. I would say, you
no,
go back.
Hold on. She had to get out of the car, stop the boat from going. I parked the car. We made it onto the boat, and then in the beautiful moonlight, I proposed. And I got down on one knee, unlike other people here that were not fully committed. I committed.
Salvage it now.
Frank,
Beautiful.
save them with your romantic French ways.
Yeah, I didn't know what Travis and Taylor, did. How Travis proposed to Taylor, but we went to a restaurant, very nice restaurant, and I arrived and I had my jewelry in my pockets, all ready to propose, and then the former French Ministry of Culture was there, recognized us, and talked to us for half an hour. So I said, okay, took a little bit longer. Then I was about to propose, and then Didier Deschamps arrived with his wife, so I had to talk to Didier, and I said, well, okay, and then I managed to, at the dessert, propose to my wife, and it took her like half an hour to answer to me because she was speechless, but I thought she was hesitating, and at a certain point I say, darling, you have to answer because you're stressing me right now, so please say something, Of course, we're still together, so it's okay.
I'm not sure I was hanging around half an hour.
That scene. That sounds like a comedy sketch.
I'm not sure I was hanging around half an hour.
But it wasn't. That's true life.
Even when telling the story of his proposal, he's dropping big names.
Oh, yeah.
The Minister of Culture, Didier Deschamps.
Just his friends and his mates. All right, thank you so much for sending in your question.
No.
Why can I never propose to anyone?
No, but we need a story.
We need a story of some sort. We can't just cut up to the end here.
This is bad. Let's cut the promo because he doesn't even deserve it.
The Italian guy, come on, so romantic.
Make up for it. It's 10 years next year.